which of your projects are you most proud of? Is there a specific number one, like, I'm just so happy about this one?
I've been pretty lucky. I've worked in Virginia, I've worked in San Francisco, and I would say a lot of my favorite projects are residences, and I would say that that's an area of strength for me from an experience standpoint and an interest standpoint. Mm-hmm. There is a very nice residence that I worked on in Virginia called the Green Mountain Station that is particularly meaningful to me. Had a really great client, which is really important to doing great design. Had a really strong sense of what they wanted and formed a really good partnership with them. And so I was lucky in that instance to just have a really good partner in design who had the resources to do a beautiful building, a beautiful home, and had a real sense of what they wanted for themselves and just needed my firms and my help. And I was the project manager for that particular house, and I did 95% of the drawings for it. So it really was mine. And although I didn't do the schematic design, it became very much. There's a part of me in that house that will always be there, and that's happened a number of times, and that's just one particular instance. But it was the first project I did out of grad school, and it was a tremendous. I mean, it's a 10,000 square foot home, and so not everybody starts with such a great commission. Yeah. So I felt lucky and blessed in that regard, and so that was a particular one, and I feel like that one launched my career in a lot of respects. So it has particular meaning to me from that respect. But one of the things that I have found about myself in working and living in different locations is that I'm fairly adaptable to the kind of the aesthetic interests of the area, and I'm not the kind of person that, well, this is how I would design for any environment, and I go to a client and it says, well, you came to me and this is my style, this is my way, so take it or leave it. That's not really my approach. And I because of my historic preservation degree, I really started out really just in love with with classical architecture, and so I've really done my work has really gone all over the map in terms of kind of the kind of architecture I've been doing, and I like that. Yeah. And I really like this firm and the more contemporary work that I'm doing now. So you saw the Lake Las Vegas house. Would certainly be up there on my list. Very proud to be involved with that, and yeah, I particularly just like the residential work that I've gotten to do. So and I've done so many, it's hard to choose, frankly.
Yeah. What skills over the years have you found necessary for any architect?
That's difficult because I think because the field of architecture is elastic enough that it allows for different specializations, like we were talking about earlier. I've been talking about kind of like my approach and the way I like to. If you talk to someone else in this firm, you get a very different answer. And I love that architecture in this field allows for that, the space for that. And I would say that the nature of this field is just something that you're always learning, and it's not something like you've ever arrived. And by way of example, I didn't go directly into into architecture school. I first went into undergrad, and that gave me a more well-rounded education, which I think is helpful now. But then I specialized later, and so the education is constant, and I'm still learning, and that's something that I think you have to embrace if you're going to be in this field. And I work for a really good architect, and I am in the process. I'm still getting licensed, so that's my process continues. I'm studying for the test currently, and until I'm done, I can't say I'm an architect. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to say that if you want to be in this field, I want to encourage you, but I want you to be eyes open. It's a difficult field, and if you want to be wealthy, if that's your, it's not the easiest profession to gain wealth in, but you can have a very comfortable life. But it's something you do for the love. It's something that you do because you can come into work, and I've had a lot of friends, a lot of people that I know that maybe they work in accounting or something like that. There's 1,000 great, very worthy professions, but some of those people live for their weekends and live for their beach houses, and maybe they have something outside of work that is their focus, and that's fine, and that works for them. It wouldn't work for me. I am happy in my life because I spend so much of it working, and that work brings me a lot of joy. And so that's a choice I made, and it's a difficult path, but it can be very satisfying.
One more question. What advice would you give to someone interested in the field of architecture?
I just have to be so careful because my perspective is colored by my love of this field. And so when I met you, and you were, and I saw, a twinkle in your eye, and you were clearly, intrigued by this profession, that's automatically something that I want to kind of foster and encourage, because I am aware of the satisfaction that you can get from this job. But there's also the duty of architecture is it's a very demanding field, and also it's a competitive one. I feel that because I've worked in a lot of different firms and I've been exposed to a lot, I have a decent bead on what it means to make it in various places, and it's the best job security is just being good at your job and being all in, and because I'm all in with this profession, it's easier to be a kind of advocate for it and be like, yeah, it's great. But I also recognize about myself, I don't know what I would do if I didn't do architecture. I had no idea. I can't even, I've never been able to think of another job since I was 17. I decided this was what I was going to do. And I am so glad that I don't have to worry about that. That decision is made, and I can live my life and not worry about what my next career is. It would only be where would I live next. And I feel fortunate because I've found a really good firm. Frankly, the firm I've been looking for some time, in the sense that I see that I have a path here that makes me want to stay a long time. And so, knock on wood, I hope that works out. But I would say, just go in eyes open if you're interested in architecture, and know that to make it, you have to be all in. And because if you're not all in, you'll be weeded out in school or in the field, because it's when you have a job like this, like design. I care about design. Design is also the thing that's most coveted in this field. So a lot of people maybe think, well, I'm going to graduate from whatever program, and I'm going to get into a firm, and they're just going to say, design me this house, design me this museum, design me this library. And that's not how it works. And it's not supposed to work that way. You work your way up. You earn, design is the fun part. And so if you're fortunate and you find a good firm, they will allow you the room to grow into that, to do more design if that's what you care about. But it's also the fun part, and you got to earn it. And but once you're there, and once you get there, and once you are designing, that's what it's all about. But you have to be realistic about what it takes to get to a point where you're doing the fun part.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gallup, for your time.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You sharing some of your insights and expertise on the field of architecture.
Glad to do it.
Thank you.